All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a PowerPoint presentation entitled Turf and Landscape Best Management Practices. And since we've just talked about turf, as I said before, I think this is good to bring this in. Plus, this is going to talk about irrigation. This is more best management practices for irrigation. And since we're not talking about irrigation in this class particularly, it's combining the two of turf and irrigation. I think it's going to be good for you guys. And like I said, we're not going over the chapters that I sent out to you in the email, because you're going to have two good in-depth classes on greenhouse. So I wanted to introduce this to you. This is something you can use really in probably any of your horticulture businesses. You're going to see these types of practices. You're going to see irrigation plans. You're going to see other landscape plans. And it's going to help you guys to kind of be able to just to interpret it and really apply it to your own businesses. So let's go ahead and get started. The purpose is the present irrigation best management practices, or BMPs as I'll call them throughout the rest of the presentation, for turf and landscapes. It's the best management practices. So what do y'all think that actually means? What does that mean, class?
Good for the environment, perhaps.
Trying to work with what's already there.
Yeah, and when we're talking about turf and irrigation, what are we always talking about?
Like using the correct chemicals and stuff
For turf, yeah.
purposes.
What about for water use? Well, that, or only using the correct amount needed. You know, waste not, want not. This is supplement information that's found into the rules of being a licensed irrigation contractor. So this is just information that's taken from the rules, and it's the minimum standards. It's it's what we should be using when we're working with turf, or we're working with irrigation system. It's what we as professionals should be using for the minimum standard. Support. By helping save water and protect water quality. That's the big thing in the landscape industry now. You're always wanting to save water. You're always wanting to protect the surrounding water ponds, even the sewer systems. We don't want no chemicals to run off. We don't want extra water to be going into the sewer system. We only want to use the correct amount and protect all the surrounding waters. That's why I truly believe that a well-designed irrigation system is going to save you a whole lot more water than hand watering. What's the deal when people go out and place a hose on a tree? They forget about it. They walk back inside, get a glass of tea or something, and ooh, 30 minutes later, wow, I've left that hose on the maple tree out there, and you go outside and water's running down the street. All right. And we want to better serve the citizens of North Carolina by saving water and protecting our valuable water resources. All right, there's a simple plan. You guys that are taking 112 right now, we're getting to that point. This is a quick and simple, easy drawing of an irrigation plan. But our support is going to talk about the design of the system. It's going to talk about the installation of a system. It's going to talk about the maintenance of a system. And it's going to talk about the management. So, designing the system as being professionals and learning what we're supposed to know about, we're learning about turf, we're learning about plant materials. So we know how much water these certain shrubs need. We know how much water certain grass types need. So we're going to design a system based on what we know about the water requirements for those plants. Installation, we're going to install it correctly. We're going to bury the pipes deep enough. We're going to put the correct heads. We're going to install a proper irrigation system. Maintenance, we always, 9 times out of 10, when we do a job for a client, we're going to get some type of maintenance contract. Either if it's just irrigation, going to turn the system on every spring and going to shut it down every fall, or we either got the lawn care associated with it too. So we're always checking that irrigation system. We're always making sure that it's doing its job. And then management, just simply keeping an eye on it as well.
When do y'all set your timers to come on? Early in the morning?
We always set our timers to come on early morning. Yeah, typically.
Before dusk?
Yeah, it's going to be before everybody gets up and takes showers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. In my household, you know, my kids don't want to take baths in the morning. They'd rather take them at night, and they go straight to bed. But when they become teenagers, going to high school, these girls are probably going to take showers at night, showers in the morning. Same thing with me and my wife. We take one before we go to work. So, you know, there'd be 5 showers taken. My wife's always putting a load of dishes in, washing a load of clothes before she leaves or something. So think of all that water we're using. If we try to run the irrigation system all at that time, you know, we're just not going to, it's not going to happen. You know, the yard's probably going to get the correct amount of water, but we're going to have trickles coming out of the shower heads. So always before the morning activities. Plus, why do you do it early morning besides that? You don't burn plants. If you see all these guys watering it in late afternoon. It's you know, the hottest part of the day, but the biggest thing is for disease. The grass doesn't have time to dry before nightfall. So if you water early morning, that grass has got all day to get dry before the night cooler temperatures set in. When you have those cooler temperatures at night and the sun going down, it gets dark and the grass is still wet, it just creates an opportunity for disease. But what we're going to talk about now, they're recommendations. They're not rules. They're the minimum standards of what we said before, but they're recommendations. They're not rules, so you don't have to do 100% of them. And it's all based on the jobs that we're doing. But contractors are asked to consider these recommendations in all phases of their work. Hence, I think really we need BMPs at everything we do. But these BMPs, they're in no way intended to supersede the published rules governing irrigation contracting. So we still have to abide by the rules, and that these best management practices are not going to supersede those. And they're not going to supersede any local or state ordinances. You know, the Irrigation Licensing Board is governed by the state. You know, they're really setting the minimum rules and regulation. Municipalities or counties could actually impose more rules and regulations. They can't go below the state, but they can always increase the rules and regulations.
Can they tell you how much you can actually put on your lawn? Like how much water, how much you can water?
Well, there's certain areas of the state that have actually banned irrigation.
Oh, really?
Well, for certain times of year. Remember, this has happened in Guilford County quite a bit. You know, you can get fined for running an irrigation system unless it's on a well, but you can't use, and that's just in certain periods when it's
People in Durham
drought.
always had signs out in their yard. My irrigation system is on a well because
Yeah.
get so many people. I guess.
They get, yeah, and you've got a lot of people that are against them. They're thinking you're wasting water, and technically you're not. If you've got a properly designed system that's putting out the correct amount of water for that, the benefits of a lush green lawn and a healthy landscape outweighs using water for irrigation. But I mean, I can understand, you know, yeah, we're not going to put in irrigation systems if we're all thirsty and we can't find water to drink. If we're running low like that, yeah, we'll the cities will stop that, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've all got to take care of ourselves before we do our landscapes. But and they're not to supersede any manufacturer's recommendations for installation and maintenance. So Rainbird and Toro and Hunter, all those manufacturers, you know, we need to do what they say and use their recommendations. All right, the best management practices will be reviewed, evaluated, updated periodically, and they're always welcoming comments and concerns, especially from professionals such as yourself. All right, a best management practice is a recommendation irrigation practice that is intended to reduce water usage and protect water quality. That's all we're worried about, guys. We're wanting to reduce water usage and protect the environment, protect the water quality. All right. Anybody recognize this chart?
Things in the circles are a little different, but
Well, tell me about it.
it's usually, you know, the triangle of pest management practices, you know, I can't even think of one of them right now, the host and susceptibility.
Oh well, yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But this is a chart representing what is sustainable. And for something to be sustainable to begin with, it's got to be economical. It's got to be affordable by all people. It can't be something that just costs an arm and a leg. It has to be available to the general public, that they should be able to afford it. It's going to be practical. It's meaning that it makes sense to use. And it has to be sustainable. And sustainable, as you can see here on the chart, sustainability is economical, so people can afford it. It's benefits society as a whole, and it benefits the environment. That's what the meaning of sustainability is. And when those circles come together, they're in the middle for the green part. That makes something sustainable. And sustainability can apply to anything that we do in our horticulture businesses. Sustainability can be how we run our office. It can be how we run our trucks. It can be how we do our jobs. It's sustainability all affects us all, and it has to have all three of those ingredients to be sustainable. And really, if something's not economical for you to do, is it sustaining? Is it sustainable? If it costs you money and it just takes all your profit?
No, that's not good.
All right, a BMP shall maintain a healthy, functional landscape without exceeding the water requirements of the landscape. And what do we see going wrong with this picture?
Water in the sidewalk.
Water in the driveway, yep. They're soaking it down. And you see that all the time. You're exactly right.
I see it just pointing straight in the road. The
Yeah.
worst is when you just see them when they're just pointing straight in the road and they're just watering the road, nothing else.
Yep.
Or
And
somebody's in a sprinkler head with a lawnmower, and it's just bubbling.
And see, that goes back to maintenance and management. Nobody's actually going out and physically seeing what's going on. Or it's a matter of the homeowner picking up the phone and saying, look, hey, my kid rolled over the head at the lower end of the driveway when he pulled in last night. Now it's throwing water all out in the street. Can you come by and take a look at it? You know, simple things.
They would rather not spend the money and just waste the water.
Well, and plus, if it's coming on at the correct time of day, they're probably not going to see it anyway.
Yeah.
But it's when they pull out of the driveway and they say, man, I got all this water running down the curb. You know, maybe I need to get up tomorrow and see what's going on and call Eric, because he's like the best one to fix it.
But the
And-
maintenance person will know stuff like that too if
True.
they're out on the property or whatever.
Yeah. And
Fortunately, most customers are kind of blind to that sort of thing. They don't.
they're not paying attention. No. And another thing that gets on me is when it's pouring down rain and you see an irrigation system going.
That's an easy.
That's an easy add-on to the system called a rain sensor. Not hard to install and doesn't cost that much. All right, irrigation design. This is all section .044, the adopted rules for minimum standards. Like y'all care about that, right?
What does that even mean?
That's a rule from the North Carolina Irrigation Contractors Licensing Board. That's one of theirs. But y'all understand this. All irrigation systems do not utilize elements outlined here. And that means that not every project you're going to do, every rule is going to apply to it. It's certain jobs that it will. Certain jobs will require all of them. Certain jobs will only call partial of these of the elements. And consider only those pertinent to the specific design. So, if you're doing a small residential design, that's not, some of the things applied there is not going to affect you on a big commercial property. Each site has its own conditions and constraints in regards to design and installation. Designer and installer must use the best judgment in applying these standards with the intent of compliance wherever possible and practical. And from my experience, I've seen designs completed by a landscape architect or somebody else, and these guys probably never visited the site. They haven't done a site evaluation, and you're always questioning, why is this head located here? Why do they have this? Irrigation, in my personal opinion, is best designed by people that's installing the systems. It just works out that way. The guys that are putting it in the ground every day know more about the design aspects than somebody sitting in an office drawing it. My personal opinion. All right, but we're going to provide a plan to the following standards. And as you can see, that nice drawing is from Hort 112 students. Final project. The students in here, are y'all ready for that? Y'all ready to have your final projects like that? Cool? AutoCAD is not as fun as hand drawing landscape plans. It's just something fun about drawing a plan.
Why do I sense that you're being sarcastic?
He's
I'm
not
not.
being sarcastic.
He likes that. He hand draws that line.
I would love to hand draw a cat like that all day long.
Now it's
Sounds like you're
no, dude. That's my background is landscape architecture. I absolutely love it. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing like what I call a true blueprint or black and white drawing, printing it out and doing that. But AutoCAD and Photoshop and all that can't do what the human hand and mind can do with some markers and pencils. Oh, in CAD?
Yeah. I can go take a 3D rendering and pull this whole thing up and pull my building up and say, this is what it's going to totally look like from every angle of your house.
But you can't render it.
Huh? Oh, do what?
You said you can't render it?
No, not with like hand drawing unless you really want to do like a whole model.
Make perspectives everything.
Yeah, you can do perspectives. Just look up Mike Lynn.
Yeah. You told us about him. It's
All right.
quite a few.
But we're going to accurately portray the site. We're going to show all information. And basically what are we doing there? We're getting a survey. We're blowing it up, and we're going to draw it to scale. And in Hort 112, you guys are already doing that. I give my students a copy of a survey from a surveyor. It's at 1 inch equals 50 scale. They're blowing it up to 1/8 scale. They're putting it all on paper. And they're going to draw everything that's on the site. The sidewalks, the driveways, utility pole, heat and air conditioning boxes. You're going to draw the water meter where it's connected to, the sewer cleanouts. And it's legible. And I tell my students to leave their drawings out overnight, and they'll come in, and I've had a few of them with tears when they see the red writing all over their paper.
I saw that on mine last week. That last word anyway.
That I can't stand. You guys have got to make it neat and legible. Now we're starting to do the sticky backs with typing and stuff like that to make it look cleaner. But everybody still needs to know how to hand letter a plan. The idea is if we had 20 people working in a design office working on the same irrigation plan, and we don't have computers, or when Planet X comes by and we're all back to doing everything manually, it needs to look like the same person's done it. And if you use the same architectural lettering, the homeowner's not going to know that Wesley or Cynthia did it, because the hand lettering would be exactly the same. But it needs to be reproducible. We need to be able to take that drawing somewhere and get it photocopied or run a blueprint. There ain't no more blueprint machines really. Everything's done with Xerox copies. But in my days, it was we'll pull the yellow sheet of paper out of the dark closet and lay our drawing on top of it and run it through the ammonia system, and that was pretty cool. But you need to have it reproducible. Keep one for yourself, get one to the client. It needs to be drawn to scale. Everybody needs to be able to draw it to scale.
Do you teach that in that class, I guess?
We first introduced it in Hort 114, construction. Because we'll give out sets of plans and you guys will have to figure your calculations and all that. And then in design, you're taking those scales and you're drawing with them. Fun stuff, right?
Those are 2 classes though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you'll be in construction next semester, so yeah.
Yeah.
Always need to have the contractor seal. I've got landscape contractor up there because I couldn't find one for irrigation real quick when I was putting this together. But there is a stamp that all irrigation contractors are required to have with their seal and their license number. And when they draw a plan, they are supposed to stamp it. So always put that.
You don't have an irrigation class, do you?
Yes, it was Hort 215. I've taught it once. When we had the LSG program, it was a requirement of the program, and our Hort students would take it as an elective. But now, since we don't have LSG, we're not teaching.
But it
So-
still is a class.
It is the class, but I've got to have enough students to make the class. And y'all know how our classes start out full, 20 people, and then it's down to, yeah. And I had one person show up for class last night. That's depressing. It's hard to lecture to one student. I had a 72-page slide.
Oh.
He actually laid his head down on the desk and was drooling pretty bad. But I kept going. I kept going. But I love hearing myself talk. So.
He was really drooling,
Yeah.
falling asleep.
Yeah. At break, he had to get up and get some paper towels. Oh, and you always got to have your information where they can contact you. I just love that logo. Yeah, I've got it tattooed right here across.
Over your heart.
But how are they going to get they need to be able to get in touch with you. So, put your information on the plan. It's a requirement. Put it on there. All right, the client's name. That's not only for, I personally, I think that's mainly for your benefit, because you look at all the plans that you've drawn, and you've got them stacked up in storage. You need to be able to pick it up, and the way you roll your plans up, you can just roll up. Oh yeah, there's the Barney residence. Yeah.
Well, not just that, but like later on too, if you've done a really good job, somebody say, what about that job over there on so-and-so street? It could have been 5 years ago, and you've got that easily, hopefully.
Yeah.
You can find it.
Find it really quick with the type of filing system. And I always do is get there's just racks that's little like 4x4s. And you roll them up, and you can just stack them in those slots, and you can pull them up. And the way you always roll this would be, if this was rolled up, that was what you'd see at the bottom. Roll it up to all the information's on the outside. And that way, when you open it up, you don't have that thing always trying to roll back on you. When you lay it down flat, it's laid down. Project name, be a landscape plan. It could be an irrigation plan. That's some real good rendering right there, isn't it? And the date of the plan, and then all of the revisions. So, yeah, we're going to make a lot of changes probably in irrigation. You're going to make a lot of changes in landscape design. And hopefully you'll get paid for it. And you always want to keep track of all these revisions and changes. That way you can charge for it. And you can go back and show the client, well, you know, we started out with this plan. You wanted it changed. Here's revision number 1. Here's revision number 2. Always keep track of it. Yeah. Yeah, we were in, Dad was putting in a landscape wall, retaining wall yesterday, and he got it finished. We're putting dirt behind it, you know. They put all the rock behind it, got it piped off, did everything. And the lady come there at lunch, and she's like, I want to extend the wall out a little bit more. And I want to add more dirt on top of the wall. And Dad said, he's kind of rude with her. He's like, you know, you've got the dirt that we priced. The length of the walls, what we priced. And he said, you know, that's going to cost more. You know, and she's like, well, I'll pay for it. But, you know, the fact is, you know, we've done about got cleaned up, ready to leave. And she's like, I want to extend it out more, and I want more dirt behind the wall, blah, blah, blah.
That is a different project.
Yeah, yeah. So what we did was park the 2 tractors behind the yard and left. I mean, we were going to finish that job yesterday. Now it's going to take 2 or 3 more days. You know, you got somebody else scheduled. We're like, we'll come back and finish you. You know, we've got these other guys scheduled. So, you know, do you want it finished today, or do you want to add 4 more feet, 5 more feet to the wall?
Yeah. So she did, though.
Yeah, we got to do it. Yeah. Got to make the woman of the house happy. All right, this is a review. So this is just going through what we just did. Accurately portray the site and show all the information. It needs to be legible, or I will rip it up and send it back to you in a brown paper bag. Needs to be reproducible. Drawn to scale. Have your seal. Have your address, way for the client to contact you. The client's name, project name, date of plan and all revisions, and lacking coffee stains.
Oh, that might be impossible. Is there
Always keep a coaster nearby when you're drawing plans. All right, the plan components. Site-specific information. North arrow. And that needs to be drawn pretty and graphically and real fancy. Needs to have the topography and key elevations. If at all possible. If at all possible. Yeah, if you've got a surveyor that's done that for you, it makes it easy. If not, it's going to be kind of hard to go out and get. I mean, you can go out and get some spot elevations, but to actually do a topography map, we're probably not going to do it. Needs to be to scale, property lines and easements. And back to scale, what's the 4 major scales we draw in, or we read plans in landscaping?
1/8, 1/4, 1/2. Is it 1/16?
There's 2 architects and 2 engineer scales that we'll see a lot. And you 2 should know it. He said 2 of them are right. The first 2 you said were right. 10 and 20. 10 scale and 20 scale on the engineer, and then 1/4 and 1/8 on the architect scale. Sometimes you'll see 1 inch equals 30 on the engineer.
I've seen that, yeah.
But I don't. That's getting a little small. But property lines and easements, we've learned how to do that with our protractors. When we get a bearing of the property line, you know, from north in the easterly direction, 30 degrees, we can figure that out and we can draw that property line. An easement.
Like you get a driveway, there's Celeste's yard. allows access to
Yeah.
your yard.
Like there's some, now you probably won't, what new construction is going on now, the banks ain't gonna loan people money with easements. They want you to have ownership to the road. They want you to have some right of way. But there's a lot of places that people own a big tract of land off the road, and they've got to have an easement through somebody else's property to get to it, which is usually like a gravel driveway. Cynthia has some wonderful stories about easements.
Have a neighbor with a big truck that's just tearing our road up. And giving easement.
So that you get across your property?
He has to go up the hill, and he's got that drive just washed. We are the only ones with the tractor that can take it and scrape it back. And Barry's not been able to do it. He finally done it last week, but once it rains, and he's bringing that truck back in and out constantly. Nothing to do.
Can you ever stop it?
We went to the DOT and everything else, we can't do anything about it. Why can't they have to pay for it, they share the road, not have to share the cost of maintenance? You would think. I think that's some kind of law or something. Whoever lives on the property, on the road.
I just never heard that.
Yeah.
Well, that's not mine.
We had 2 neighbors.
You know what you can do? If you will, put some metal spike, put some metal spike ties right in there. They can't drive those.
Throw some tacks,
So they wouldn't run over his yard.
nails.
Yeah, now,
Acme Road Runner.
Oops, I'm sorry, that just
We
fell off
even
the
put a
tractor.
speed bump up there, but if you put a speed bump and it's on your property right there, you're liable for if it tears up their vehicle.
Ooh.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We done all that, it's just in the fine.
Big old nails will work.
That's what my neighbor's got, the spikes at the edge of his yard to keep them off of his property, because that truck keeps going out running.
I opened up a can of worms, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah.
My bad.
But we learned how to draw these. It's real simple. How hard did y'all think that was? It's really one of the simplest things we do as designers, drawing property lines.
It's just, for the most part, straight lines, right?
Yeah. Take the compass. Well, you get a bearing from the surveyor, and he's going to say it's, north 90 degrees, east 120 feet. Well, that's simply laying our protractor down and
Following
getting that angle, and boom.
Then get me scale and how long it needs to be. And
Yep. It's really fun. You guys will love that class with me.
It's even easier now with like the county GES and all that. You just like
Zoom down on it.
map. It's like property lines for there.
Some of them have it and some of them don't.
And like
It's-
Davis County, Forsyth. Rowan,
yeah, well,
Forsyth.
but like some houses, if you're in a neighborhood, yeah, you've got like property
Mine
lines.
didn't have it.
But like if you're out in the country like I am, it's hard to. It's got my house print. Like they've got the house to scale. I'm wondering how they did that. I mean, I never saw somebody coming out measuring unless they're doing it from satellite or something. But I don't know. But my property lines aren't there.
Yeah.
But all constructed site elements, whatever's on the site, if they've got a, that'd be the sidewalk, that'd be the driveway, that'll be their utility building, all that. The utilities, you need to know where the water connection is. You need to know where power's going into the house. You need to know where phone, TV, cable, all that's going in. Why? Because what are we doing with irrigation? We're digging, we're trenching. How many times have we heard, oh, cut the gas line, or
Hopefully never.
you hear it. Well, probably what's worse than that, you've got a guy that's living there, and he's working from home and he's a stockbroker, and you cut that high-speed internet connection,
And you just ruined his life.
yeah, you're gonna hear some words.
Oh no.
Planting plan. You need to know where all the plants are. You need to know exactly what's there, because how are we going to properly irrigate the plants if we don't know what they are and their water requirements?
And we do the irrigation before the sod, but after all the trees and shrubs have been planted.
All right, repeat that again.
We do the irrigation before the sod, but after all the plants have been planted.
Well, I've done it both ways. Definitely, yeah, sod's always the last thing to go down.
But isn't it better? Is it better to do it before all the trees and shrubs get planted, or?
Well, I like actually getting all my main lines and lateral lines run without
Put your hedge
without
in
the
that.
shrubs there.
Okay.
And we'll just leave black pipe, funny pipe,
Yeah.
stubbed up out of the ground.
And then do your hedge right at the very end.
Yeah.
It can be even with
Yeah,
flood and stuff.
exactly. And then we'll plant. Now, but we've been also on sites where we've been called in. Well, they've only hired us to do the irrigation, and they've hired somebody else to do the landscaping. And we both show up the same day because, you know, it's a construction site. They're trying to get it finished and closed. So we're having to work around each other. And yeah, they're going ahead and planting trees and stuff like that. But if we're doing both projects, we're going to go ahead and do the irrigation first. Yeah.
Okay.
Just makes it a lot easier.
I never installed a whole irrigation system. I've only helped my stepdad work on,
Yeah.
putting new lines
There's
in.
more money in irrigation repair than there is new systems. I love doing repairs, you know, troubleshooting it and trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like fitting the puzzle together. You're like, wow, holy cow, I figured that out.
Kind of fun.
But we need to include existing trees, depict canopies to scale. There's how we draw the north arrow, or it can be any graphically fancy way. I get real creative with mine. Topography, that's going to be hard drawing all those, right? So we may or may not do that. But typically, most residential sites, they're not going to have that many. I mean, that's a mountain there. The scale, always draw it, always represent it there graphically too, because you put 1/8 of an inch equals a foot on a plan for a homeowner, they're not really going to understand that, but they can kind of represent that. They're like, okay, all right, that's from here to here is 16 feet. And they can kind of draw that on a little piece of paper and kind of move it around and on the plan and figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. All constructed site elements. See, the clients added these walls. You know, what if you went and did a site? If you just say you pulled this up on geodata, and you're like, it's typical 1/4 acre lot, nothing on it. You know, builders just finished the house, blah blah blah, and you didn't notice that wall was there
Because you didn't go to the site?
because you didn't go to the site and you priced doing it, you know, to get the job, and then you're like, oh, they want that shrub bed irrigated. Well, are you going to have to really bore through there? You know, are you going to have to bore underneath that wall? You're going to have to dig and get underneath it? How are you going to get water to that foundation shrub planting? It's kind of a
That's right there under the window.
you going
From the spigot right
from the
there.
spigot under the windows. But the man of the house wants it on an automatic system where he can hit his remote
Well,
control.
I can turn it on and leave it on a timer.
Probably gonna have to bore under that wall.
No, seriously, we had a client in Oak Valley one time. He was right on the golf course, and he wanted a handhold remote control, and we did it. You can do that, and he'd be sitting there on his back deck drinking his coffee, and every time the golfers would come near his house,
That's why.
he'd hit on, and he would drench them.
That actually sounds awesome.
I would love it. I kind of wanted to do that. I never wanted to live on a golf course, but now I do. That'd be
He's like, I
awesome.
want a couple extra heads here that really are not watering my lawn. I want it to throw out into the fairway.
Which kind of goes against one of the first.
Yeah, it goes
aspects
against the
of-
first BMPs, right?
Necessary.
Yeah.
But he had like a collection of golf balls and everything, and he's just like, I'm just tired of them coming through my yard.
Well, done on a golf course.
Yeah, yeah.
You might have been there.
But the utilities, you know, we got to know where water, gas, electrical, and phone, all that is. And these are just graphic representations. We did a little quick review to begin with, and now we're going through it a little more detail. But the planting plan, gorgeous, gorgeous planting plan. How are we going to know to water those trees? How are we going to know to water those plants? We got to know what they are and what their water requirements. And really, what's the best way to irrigate plants and shrubs and trees? Drip. Drip. I mean, you can do a lot with drip. You know, you can put the different half-hour emitters, hour emitters, you know, gallons per hour, all different types of emitters on that tube that can take care of it for you. And plus, that's conserving water. That's giving water at the plant where it needs. What's the definition of irrigation? Anybody really know? Bringing water.
I'll go look it up real quick. Hold on.
Bringing water to the source where it's needed.
Irrigation, application of water to a crop to maintain the proper balance of moisture in the air and the soil.
In that book.
Basically what you said.
Exactly.
Bringing it to the source where it's needed. My other lectures are titled, "What is Irrigation?" I need a rubber band.
Should get you one of those rubber band guns.
A rubber band gun. Wake some of you guys up. I wish this was like the Army. You know, you catch somebody snoozing in a safety brief or whatever.
What happened?
You don't want to know.
Dump them out of their chair or something horrible.
Yeah. Think of the worst case scenario, and it's been done.
Well, I've had a teacher in high school throw shoes.
Throw shoes.
Take his shoe off and throw it. He wouldn't hit you, but he kind of teacher with a water bottle. Water bottle.
Just to go over and pour water on them.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
All right, but we're going to depict the canopies to scale. We're going to draw it similar to this, or you can draw it with just a simple circle with a cross in the middle. Just depends on how graphic you want to get. Me, I'm very detailed and I'm very quick about it though. So there's nothing more I'd rather do than draw landscape plans, guys.
So
I do it all the time. This is review again. North arrow, topography, scale, property lines and easements, constructed site elements, utilities, planting plan, existing trees, blah, blah, blah. All right. Let's go ahead and take a quick 10-minute break. All right. Part number 2 of the plan, components. Your water source information. Hey, are we going to have split tap or are we going to have a single tap? Does anybody know what that means, class?
A split tap is where one pipe goes off in multiple directions.
Yeah, well,
from the
yeah.
main source
you
of
have
the
a
water.
Y.
It's created when an existing tap to a domestic meter is split to service the second meter for irrigation use.
Kind of like a Y.
Yeah. Or you can get that second meter.
Second meter is what?
Here, I'm not sure what it costs.
No, not what it costs, but what it, I mean, I've heard the term second meter. Does that mean you're actually installing another source? For
Another water source, another
Yeah.
water connection with the meter. And the thing about it having the second meter for irrigation is that they're not going to charge you for sewer. If you have one designated just for irrigation, they're not going to charge you sewer on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Because what if you're running all this irrigation water and you're a big time gardener and want everything? You don't want to pay sewage on the water you're using on the plants.
No.
So
Because most people don't have a second meter.
no, I mean you can do either way. Hey, if you're only going to live there 2 or 3 years and you're doing an irrigation system to
You just answered why my grandpa has 2 separate lines for the barn and then one for
Well,
the house.
yeah, exactly. But if you're just going to live there, they say it takes 5 to 6 years to get your money back from the second meter in water saving. So if you're only going to live there 2 or 3 years and you're doing this as an upgrade to help sell your house, just do the split tap. So, all right, point of connection. Is it a well, pump, or municipal? We've done all 3 connections. The type of connection. Is it split tap water meter? Is it a standalone water meter? Is it a well? Is it a pond?
That's the way to do it.
Do the pond.
Yeah.
Same thing with geothermal.
Well, because it's already mineralized water that.
Have a well for your irrigation. Have a pond for your irrigation, and then drop the pipe in there and do your geothermal.
Yeah.
A lot better in the water than it is
How
in the
far
ground.
down do you have to be to do geothermal?
And if it's in land, I think on mine we went 5 or 6 feet,
It's 5 or 6 feet.
and it was designed incorrectly. It's still which I mean I live in a house that was built in 1923, so
Because I had a buddy that took, actually, I had a 55-gallon drum, and he said he just wanted to do an experiment, so he went to go to his house, dug the 55-gallon drum 6 feet in the ground, started circulating water through his house, and everything. He said he cooled his whole house with a 55-gallon drum of water.
that makes sense.
What's the expense though for using a pond, because you've got all the, residual and gravel, whatever it is that you've got to, filter through to reuse the,
Yeah, you'd have to have a.
Yeah, you got to filter.
is that terribly expensive?
Well, you can do some sediment collections fairly easy.
I'll have to ask Dad because he irrigates with the pond on the strawberries, and he's got a big.
That's what my family did with the tobacco, but, I heard there's a lot of issue with that when it's retake on it, subsurface sediment or whatever.
Well, you'd have to have another, they have to, a lot of times, if there's so much sediment in it, you have to have clear the sediment, and a lot of times they're just letting it settle, taking top water, and using top water.
I'll have to ask him how much that's and he's got it portable. I mean, he's got it built on pallets so he can go down and pick it up with a skid steer and move it to different areas.
That's right.
Cistern. Yeah, if we're going to collect, rainwater or whatever, that's a cool thing to do. That's something you guys can do as a little niche for people.
Isn't that illegal though now in some states? You can't even collect water anymore.
I don't know.
There's a big, when you go more out west, they're saying that they're gonna start finding people that are collecting water.
That's probably because of pollution, man.
Well, it's just tied in up and.
And or the government, they invest so much into getting water to these arid places that people start collecting all water. The government doesn't know if they're getting their return.
Yeah, but
It's money.
I'm sure it has to do with money. If Uncle Sam's involved.
The systems are tied straight into a lot of times you got it, system.
Yeah, I mean, if you're collecting the water off your roof to wash your car, or,
It's smart.
yeah.
I mean, but you can like,
I think it's neat because you can actually take that water too and flush toilets. You're not probably going to drink it, but
There's this cool land ship design houses.
Yeah.
They're so cool out west. It's all rainwater and reused water. They recycle your wastewater and everything.
yeah.
well, you could use it as drinking water. You could run
You
it and put it to, because
Well, you could probably drink the rainwater through a filter,
You can
but
put the fluoride and everything that you want, the additives you want to put into it. And I saw it, it's like coming off some systems. I watched a show on it, and it went right into these additive things once it clarified it and everything with the filter. And it was like 4 or 5 parts, but it was like all hung up in the downstairs basement.
I could see doing the rainwater filtering it. I wouldn't do the
But it was a lot
brown
of money
water.
to spend for using converting rainwater too. So.
But there's people that collect their shower water to flush their toilets. They collect dishwater to flush the toilets. I mean, there's all kinds of. I mean, it gets expensive running a system like that in a house. But people that are green.
Is that what you call gray water?
Well, I call it green building, but green. I don't know what green water would be. We call it gray water. Gray water is like.
From your laundry and stuff you recycle, right?
Yeah, that'd be gray water. Brown water would be the sewage water, which there's ways to filter that and stuff, but no, not me.
You've never lived in a squatter house.
All right, but your power source, where are we going to locate the irrigation controller? Inside the garage, inside the house, outside? I like them outside. I like exterior weather clocks because I don't have to depend on the client to be home to let me in. If it's on the outside and you get an exterior weather box, you can go and run all the systems and everything without the homeowner being there.
Pretty smart. Why do so many people want to hide that in their garage?
When they're showing off their Mercedes, they can show off their.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use Louise.
It just depends on the client, man.
They don't know how it works, but they.
We need to list the manufacturer model number where allowable by law, and that's going to be on the clock itself, and you can put that on your plan. Show all pertinent items listed. Size of items where appropriate. 1-inch pipe. The size of the heads. 6-inch pop up. 12-inch pop up. Blah blah blah. Components. Backflow prevention device, and that's to keep water from siphoning back into the to the city or municipality water source. You can cause a lot of contamination if you don't have that backflow. Master valve, those are nice to have in where you can just go and boom, you've cut water off to the system. Pressure regulating device, depends on the pressure that you've got. There are places that you need to reduce the pressure before you run it through an irrigation system. But if you're on the tail end of the city line, you might not have as much pressure as somebody that's living close to. Main line, that's going to usually be a dashed line. Lateral lines, solid lines. Your main line, that's pipe that has water in it all the time, even when the system's not running. They're hot, and you have the main line that run to the valves, which the valves are controlled with wires that are run to the clock. So whenever that valve opens, say it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you say valve number 1, come on, it's going to open up, and then it's going to release water to the lateral lines, which are the ones that are sending water to the plants and the grass. So the main line, I always say this, the main line's always hot, and the lateral lines are always cold. You gotta turn them on. Note the pipe size and location where pipe sizes change. So you may be reducing it. You may have a 2-inch main line. You may have a 1-inch lateral line. Control wire routing, if not along the main line. Typically, all my wires are going to be in the same ditch. I'm not digging 2 ditches. I'm not a fan of Emmanuel labor. So I'd rather run a little bit of extra wire and just lay it all in the same trench. Isolation valve location, that's where are they at? Quick couplers, hydrants, or other points of connection. Quick couplers, those are nice. Those are just, you can actually go in and stick in a quick connection, and then you can have a hose hooked up to it, like a hose bib connection.
Hydrants.
You can actually have, and we've done this too, that we'll have out of our main line, because the main line's what? It's always got water in it. It's always hot. You can run up a piece of pipe and put a little spigot. So, and especially if people have a second meter and they want to fill up the kiddie little pool, they want to wash their car, they want to wash the dog outside, they're not paying.
Something you can hook a hose up to, not a
Yeah.
fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Like what I was thinking.
Yeah, but it's something that, and they're not having to pay a sewage charge on that water, because all the water that goes through the meter, and they come out and read the meter, and you've only got 1 meter, they're just writing down, hey, or they got that gun that tells what it is, whatever water is used, they're automatically thinking it's being dumped into the sewer system, so it's a double charge. But if you've got 2 meters and one's designated for irrigation, you don't get charged for the sewer water.
And that is allowed? That's not like we're cheating somebody or something?
No, because it's really not, if
Going into the
it's
sewer.
not going into the sewer.
Okay. Interesting. I have a question for later.
Thrust blocking where appropriate. We're not going to get into that. Station zone valve location. Those are the valves in the ground that you have a little green box that sits on top of it. And you draw that on the plan. You need to know where those are at. Sprinkler head locations. Controller locations. That's your clock. Preferably they're outside. Controller sensors, a rain switch, soil moisture sensor, and flow sensors. These are all things that's going to help you conserve water. It's not going to turn the system on when it's raining or even a cloudy, high humidity day. I mean, some of these controllers they got now are super, way too smart. Smarter than me programming them. Sleeves. What do you think a sleeve is?
Yeah, something that covers over the pipe.
Huh?
The sleeve that you put the pipe through.
Yeah. Say, and we're always good about this. Like I said, we've done numerous of the O'Reilly Auto Parts stores. The contractor will be there. Hey, Jonesy, we're pouring the driveway tomorrow. You need to come out here and put your sleeves in. And we'd go out there and we'd take 3-inch pipe. We'd lay across the driveway.
And
That
foam stuff.
we actually just use PVC pipe. And when they finish pouring and everything, then they call us back to do the irrigation and landscaping. We've got these pipes underneath the driveway that we can just feed our other pipe through. So we're not having to bore underneath a sidewalk.
Now, would you use
Or
that insulated sleeve ever? Like the insulated foam sleeve?
I mean, I've seen it, but we've never used it. I mean, we've got our sleeves deep enough and kind of curve it. And a lot of times we'll have to dig a hole to get down to it. And we'll just take some caution tape, tie it to the end of it, and pull it straight up, and put a stake there so we know exactly.
Are your lines required to be 24 inches under? Is the frost line? The frost line's 24, is what they said.
Yeah, you'll want it that deep. Whether or not it does every bit of it go that deep, but you've got guys that plow these lines in that are like 6 inches below. The thing is, the deeper you get it, you don't have to go back and blow out the water. They're not going to freeze if they're 24 inches deep. These guys that are plowing it in instead of trenching, yeah, they're going to have like an air compressor connection and turn, drag an air compressor out.
I wonder if that's something that I need to do with mine.
Down here, probably not. Depends on how deep it is.
Right.
But yeah, we always go deep.
Though, because
Yeah, the
Yeah.
24 inches is the line, I know that. Because that's what, we have to have a foot below 24 inches with the concrete and everything.
Yeah. Special trenching areas, if you got a hand trench or direct bore, you would note that on your plan. Hopefully you don't have to do any of that. If the system has a 2-wire control system, decoder number, and valve code and descriptions, that's a whole different ball game within irrigation. It's cool, it saves money on the wire, but it's expensive. It's mainly going to be used probably a lot in commercial systems now, not so much with residential right now. Design information. Estimated gallons per minute at the point of connection. Y'all gonna fail this pop quiz on this next week?
I'm not, I got 3 pages of notes.
Who? I saw everybody's head raise up when I said pop quiz next week.
That's right.
Static pressure at the point of connection. Design criteria, the pressure and the volume. Pipe type and sizing. I mean, typically on all our residentials we use 1-inch pipe, PRS 200. You can go schedule 40, but typically with residential jobs that we do, it's 1-inch pipe, everything through it. When I was in college, we had our irrigation classes. I mean, we sized the pipe down to the T. I mean, we got knocked off on our plans if we could have sized it down to 3/4 inch. Nobody does that. I mean, you see a truck, it's got all 1-inch pipe on it. And bigger if you're on a commercial site. But you're not going to start buying, well, we need some 1/2-inch pipe for 40 feet on this job, and then 60 feet of 3/4 inch.
Is it for pressure? Is that why?
Yeah, you reduce it to save that pressure. But
Has the irrigation business turned around a lot more since?
I don't know. Yeah, that'd be a good question for some of the guys that are strictly just irrigation contract. I mean, that's all they do. They don't do landscaping more. We're still doing systems.
I don't think that the irrigation contractors.
That'd probably be landscaping period.
Landscaping period, but you have your yard cut every week before you're going to have put an irrigation system in.
True.
I know that all building landscape, anything like that.
And even when things were good, we were the last ones in, so all the money had run out. That's the bad thing about our business. You know, you know, think about being a framing contractor. He's one of the first ones in. He's gonna get paid. And you know, they're trying to get the landscaping done so they can get their certificate of occupancy and close on the house. And you know, 9 times out of 10, you know, you're getting paid after the CO and the people's closed on the house. Once that happens,
You don't get paid.
you better hope you have a good relationship with the builder.
You know the funny thing is, most homeowners don't know that the people doing work in the house have a right to put a lien on the house if you don't pay.
Yeah.
We told one person that one time, they got real mad. They're like, "Say, you put a lien on mine?" Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in the paper and all that. And they're, you know, it makes them look like the ones that ain't paid. But yeah, it happens all the time. They've paid the builder. The builder ain't paid you.
Yeah. Well, we were all the ways to builders. So.
Well.
Yeah, we didn't never get.
Backflow prevention device, the size and type of the enclosure. You know, it used to be above ground. You know, years ago it could be all underground. Now they're going back to underground. I think they need to be underground. That's the safest place. You know, it's warmer underground than it is sitting above with that little foam box over it. And then the power goes out and the heat tape that's wrapped around it. You got a nasty mess if that thing cracks. Control wire type and sizing. I like the multi-strand wire. It's like 5 or 6, sometimes 8 wires bundled together with like a black tubing around it. You've got it all connected there. It's more expensive than using the single wires, but you know, usually that's red and white, and it's a lot easier when it's color coded to know zone 1's yellow, zone.
Conduits and stuff too.
Some plans require that. You know, we did a job for UNCG. All the irrigation wire had to be in electrical conduit. So we did that. Residential, no. You know.
Well, I would love to show you my irrigation system. It's
Is
crazy.
it-
It's old, from the 80s.
The valve enclosure type and the size. So if it's, you know, the round boxes or the big square boxes, have that on the plan. All right, hydrozone information, the zone number and valve size, estimated pressure, estimated gallons per minute, estimated precipitation rate, sprinkler type, and then special design considerations. Installation information, construction details. A lot of those are already drawn for you. You can import those in if you're doing it on CAD or Pro Landscape. The sprinkler, the swing joint assembly, that's just showing how you're connecting it to the pipe. Backflow prevention device and enclosure. All these are pre-drawn for you guys, so I mean you can, you know, download these off the internet and sticky back them to your plans if you're hand drawing them. The sleeving, isolation valves, valve configuration, thrust blocking on the ring and gasket type, grounding, where the ground rod and ground plate location, lightning protection.
Oh. Never think about that. Your stuff getting struck by the lightning?
Yeah, we've replaced a lot of irrigation controllers because of lightning.
Dude.
People get mad.
Yeah.
They're mad at us. You know, I didn't make it lightning. Come on.
Maybe that's why people hide them in the garage. It's
Well,
it's still gonna affect
Yeah.
the electrical.
Yeah, it's like leaving your, you know, it's like leaving your computer plugged in. I've lost 2 computers because of lightning, because we let the thing run. And I'm like, never again will I have a desktop at home. It's going to be a laptop that we can put in the cabinet when we're not using it, so you don't have this ugly computer sitting in the living room. And then all of a sudden you get a lightning storm. Oh, the laptop's in the closet. We're not going to lose it this time. You know? The details again, the controller installation, the ditch cross section showing the pipe and the wire. Again, we can find all this stuff on irrigation. Probably some of your suppliers will have all these drawings, and the use of sticky back on hand drawn plans is awesome. Construction notes, reference to locating and protecting underground utilities and improvements, and specifications if not presented elsewhere. Special construction techniques required. I mean, all this, you know, and what did we say at the beginning of this? Not every single thing has to be
All the time.
on the plan. All right, record irrigation drawing standard. This is point 3.03 of the adopted rules for minimum standards for record drawings. Provide the plan to scale, include locations and product information regarding the lateral piping and sprinklers. To ensure that the irrigation system is designed to efficiently and uniformly distribute the water to conserve and protect water resources and to function well as a component of the overall landscape, the irrigation designer shall, what do you think the first thing is? Take this class offered by Eric Jones. Provide a complete irrigation design package to the owner of the system, including to scale drawings, details, and product data. Well, should we do the plan before we put the system in or after?
Probably before.
You really could do it either way. And
Come up with a plan as you're building it?
yeah, and do it as built.
And sometimes that works better because you're right there. And
You're right there at it.
Yeah.
And if you're like an architect and you're just doing the design of it, it's smarter for you to get somebody to say, hey, go at it. After
Yep.
you do it, then you put it on the plan.
Yeah, and the guy that's going to teach you guys computer apps, he's a landscape architect. He's like, I don't do irrigation. He says, when somebody hires me to do irrigation, I consult with an irrigation contractor. And he said, they tell me where to put the pad, the heads and the control and stuff. And he said, I can draw this pretty picture in AutoCAD. And then he said the same thing. He's like, if they go out and do an as-built and they need me to draw it up for them, it's like they got a little sketch with the survey, boom, I can draw them an irrigation plan based on the information they give me.
So
And he's like,
are they on AutoCAD down there on the computer?
yeah, the computer where you guys will be taking computer apps has AutoCAD, Pro Landscape, all that on it.
Yeah. Do you have to have landscape design to take the computer class?
No, you just got to have CIS 110 or 111. That's the only prerequisite.
Or test out of it, right?
Yeah, you can always test out of a class. All right, piping. Allow the following BMPs of the maximum safe flow rate for municipal water suppliers with the lowest safe flow rate prevailing as the design guideline. A lot of information, right? It's a good thing it's going to be available to you guys to review, because I know you guys will probably watch this 2 or 3 more times at your leisure, because I don't want you guys to ever get bored on the weekends.
No worries.
For main lines over 2.5 inches, utilize the bell and gasket piping. It looks like a bell, and then there's a gasket inside, and that's if it's 2.5 inches. That's the main line. That's a big pipe, though. I hate putting together 2-inch and 3-inch main lines. Whew. Talking about a hard day of work. Include blocking details and location when the straight main line runs exceed 500 feet. Always recommend the use of a reduced pressure zone backflow prevention device. And consider the use of a solenoid controlled master valve to prevent excessive water loss from a pipe burst or a defective solenoid. Alright, so right there what they're talking about, the master valve is something that you can turn off. And they're saying using a solenoid control. So it's actually connected to the system. So what it would do would come on, say we're going to set the system up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That master valve will turn on at 5 o'clock, and then you might have the next zone come on at like 5:01 or something. But then when the system's finished irrigating everything, that master valve gets cut off so that there's nothing going out to the system. They're saying a solenoid control, but that can also be a hand valve too. I mean, there can be somewhere like if you had an accident, the guys are digging on a construction site, there's already an irrigation system in place, they're adding on to a house or something, they dig up the lines, boom. You know, instead of going all the way back to the meter to cut it off, you know, there could be a master valve somewhere that would turn it off. When possible and available, specify a metering device that measures the total landscape water use separate from other use. Well, if we have that second meter, it's easy to do that. If not, you'd probably need to do something like an inline meter on the system, so you can just actually see how much water consumption is taking place with the system. For zones with drip or micro irrigation, use flush valves to flush the laterals after completion of the irrigation cycle. You don't want those things to get nasty and clogged up. Get that mic.
Do those really? Those sensors are in those deep into the soil where the root tips are?
Oh yeah, they've got little probes that go down into it, and yeah.
Oh, but not on most irrigation
No, not on
systems.
most.
Yeah.
No, this is like, yeah.
So that's a really specialized new thing or something.
That's. Where I got lost here on this slide.
There we go. It's the last one. There,
Okay.
there it is.
I'm so caught up in the moment.
Soil moisture sensors to monitor soil moisture, which is hard to say. That's got to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
Somebody likes their plants.
Yeah.
I want one.
And that'd be
I want
that'd be
one.
the same type of guy that wants that remote control to turn it on his golf course, guys. You know,
Mm-hmm.
those are the same type people
the
that,
people who have the money to do
Yeah.
stuff.
you know, because it costs green to be green.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's more expensive to be green than it is
Yeah.
just to go.
Same thing. It's cheaper to eat McDonald's than healthy. Yeah. The McDonald's salad's $4.50, and you can buy a double cheeseburger for 99¢. What's
That's crazy.
But it'll
Yeah.
affect you later.
yeah, it affects you later. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get boxed with it. You can get all kinds of stuff from their salads, from the lettuce, E. coli, whatever. they had an outbreak with the McDonald's lettuce recently.
To simplify manual reading of the total landscape irrigation water use, a water meter with an electronic output signal that supports a remote display mounted at the controller. That'd be awesome.
What's
And you know, and seriously, there's actually these. You can set it at your. Now there's irrigation systems that you can set there at your desktop at home, or with your iPad, and like turn on the system and stuff like that. And
turn on zones and stuff too. That's right.
And then like in big commercial campuses or properties, you know, they have an irrigation control room, and the guys can do it, you know, within there.
See, you could even take it further and make sure that you always have maintenance to do on these things, and if you had the iPad, have like a little motion sensor, so when the people come out the door in the middle of the night, morning, you hit them real quick, and be like, you come out, every time I come out the door in the morning, this thing hits.
Generate income.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
For automated management of the landscape irrigation water use, a landscape irrigation meter with an electronic flow rate output signal is compatible with the controller. This allows the controller to measure and control the amount of water use as well to indicate leaks. I love leaks. Like I said, it's you make more money fixing broken parts than you do putting in a new system.
Yeah.
It's easy to fix usually.
For larger sites where significant potential water savings may result, specify a controller that allows for flexible irrigation scheduling and advanced water management features. These features may include incorporating current real-time or daily evapotranspiration data, water budgeting, and soil moisture monitoring. So let's say, you know, here at the school, they've got some parts of the campus irrigated. But say you're somewhere at a big major university where the grounds are just lush and green and there's irrigation systems everywhere. It's more effective or more cost efficient for them to have all this stuff in place than to use up the water.
How long does a system last? Is there
We've got systems that we service, you know, turn on and shut down yearly that was put in the 80s and 70s.
They did 70s.
Yep. You know, they got these old clocks that you know, it's all manual clickers instead of the digital. And they work fine. They work fine.
You can hear the little thing.
Specify a separate common wire from the controller to each hydrozone station to follow a sensor-based control of each hydrozone. Yeah, you've got to have that common wire run to each zone. It's usually typically white. That's just a standard. So if you see a white wire, that's a common. It connects to every controller. And then the other color-coded ones is how you, yellow would be one, or what, and however you wanted to do that. Provide a high-flow sensor to warn pipe burst or faulty valves. Water supply. Use a master valve on all systems with pressurized source to minimize water waste. Trenching and piping. If serious damage could result, consider boring as a less invasive procedure. So sometimes it's better to bore underneath the sidewalk than to cut the sidewalk out and pour it back. And I've done that the old Emmanuel way. You dig 2 holes on either side of the sidewalk. You get down there in the trench with a piece of iron pipe and the sledgehammer. You beat it through.
I've been that guy.
And then you get it through and you're like, okay, how am I going to get this thing out? So you're hooking a chain up to the tractor and pulling it out, blah, blah. Sprinklers. It is best for the sprinklers to operate at the mid-range of pressures listed in the manufacturer's listers. So you want it to only be at half. Owner's manual. It is recommended that the contractor perform a final walkthrough with the irrigation system owner or the owner's representative to explain the operation of the system, showing the working system, and to have the owner or owner's representative accept the system. And this usually takes place when one of your kids has a ball game, or it's, you know, your birthday or anniversary. You're always there after 5 o'clock when they get home. Yep. But if you're lucky, they're handing you a check when you leave. Or you'll be, I'll be nice.
What the heck?
Write this all down.
No.
You need to know this. Did y'all get it?
I'll take a picture.
And on my plans, always include a picture of this guy.
Junior, really?
Every morning I have your picture on the wall. My wife asks why I'm sitting here worshiping.
Oh.
Are these just all your?
That's all my certifications. Not many of them.